Welcome to Leading the Follower with your host, Rebecca Benston. Good morning, good morning. My name is Rebecca Benston, and I'm here with you on Leading the Follower. This is my third attempt to record a podcast this morning, and I'm hoping that this one will be the one that sticks. Not sure what's going on, but I think everything is kind of working against me because it's Monday, and who really wants to be awake right now? Anyway, I am coming to you to kind of share some thoughts in the few minutes I have before I kick off my work week at my day job. And just as time was dwindling away from me, I was trying to think what would be the most important piece of information that I want to share this week. In the interest of trying to be more consistent in podcasting and doing a Monday and a Friday episode, I try to um, I'm trying to come up with a theme that can carry through to two different broadcasts, but it's not always easy to come up with material that people want to hear. Um, it's not always easy for me to come up with material that people don't want to hear. So it's challenging each and every week to sit down and try to say 15 minutes worth of something that someone might listen to if they have a few minutes. So bear with me. As I've said before, I'm not a professional podcaster. This is something that I've been trying to get better at, trying to be more comfortable with. I'm not necessarily someone who likes for my voice to be heard in that way. Of course, I want my voice to be heard because I have things to say that I feel God puts on my heart for a reason. So, in that respect, yes, but I don't necessarily like the mechanics of having my voice be heard. The the actual going through the process of recording and trying to sound like I have some intelligence about me or some kind of depth about me. Um, it doesn't always come across the way it sounds in my head doesn't always come out of my mouth. Um, so I ask for a lot of grace and a lot of consideration when you listen to the podcast, and I hope that you you get something out of the few minutes that you spend if you have chosen to listen today. So, with that said, I want to get into it. I have just a few minutes and talk just a little bit about the book of Nehemiah. That's where I've been in the last couple of weeks. I've been reading through each chapter, and I've finally gotten to the chapters where there's a lot of listing out of the names of the people who were present and what their roles were and things like that. And of course, for me, I'm someone that just I want to get to the meat of it. What is the point of this? Why are we listing out all these names? I like to get into more than a simple roll call or whatever. But as I was reading through and I was trying to read all these names that are almost impossible to pronounce and butchering just about each and every one of them. And I said, what is the point of this particular chapter? What am I supposed to get out of this reading each of these names and the families they came from and the role that they take, and why is this here? And why is it in so many of the chapters? Like, why are there 3 or 4 chapters dedicated to listing out these names? And it occurred to me that this is God's way of saying, hey, each and every person, no matter who you are, no matter what family you came from, no matter what you've done in your past, each and every person is created with a purpose. Each and every person has a reason for being part of things, and you know it it's worth the time and the energy to list it out and to call those people out by what they're here for, and to say this is your role, this is your mission. So I need to take just a moment here because, of course, in the middle of this, my daughter is texting me and telling me where she's going, which is great. I'm very glad to have that. But um, I can't think and text at the same time. So that's a sad side note. But the whole idea of a purpose, um, and each person having their own purpose is, you know, it's stated throughout the Bible. And of course, I can't cite chapter and verse to you every place it's cited, but I know it is because I have actually studied this in several different Bible studies and small groups and things like that, where we've talked about your purpose and how God has designed each and every one of us with something He wants us to do, a duty that we are supposed to fulfill as His creation. So, as I'm reading through this list and I'm thinking, okay, this person's in charge of this person's in charge of this is what you're supposed to do here, this is what they're supposed to do. What does this mean to me? And I think, I have spent a very long time. I am 51 years old, and I have spent a very long time trying to figure out exactly what my purpose is. Um, it's become more clear to me over the years that my purpose has to do with helping to inform people about different things that go on in people's lives that may or may not be things that others want to hear about. To share uncomfortable truths, to confront topics that maybe other people don't want to confront. That is definitely part of what I'm here for. Um, of course, God needs people to speak up and talk about things like that. So I believe that my purpose has evolved over the years, and that in order to reach my purpose, it took me all these years of living, all these years of experiencing different things, all of these years of experiencing different trauma, different revelations, different healing. All of that combined has led up to this is your purpose, this is where you stand in the Jerusalem that is our world. Um, if I can make that very broad analogy there, I think. Analogy, is it a simile or a metaphor? I can never remember that. But when the people were assigned to these places, to these stations within Jerusalem, after they had rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem, um, I'm not sure if they stepped into those roles as part of their training to become the person that God made them to be, or as the culmination of all of the training that they'd had up to the point where this is what God designed them for. And it really just depends. You can be 60 or 70 years old and not have realized your purpose yet. You may not have gone through the thing that He needs you to go through um, in order to know this is what I was made for. This is where everything starts to fall into place. This is where things start to come together and make sense for me. Um, and it takes a long time sometimes. I didn't realize until, God, I didn't realize until years and years after I went through so many things and started to put it all together in my writing as I process things through writing, uh, that this was what I was made for. I wasn't necessarily just put here to be abused. I wasn't put here to be neglected. I wasn't put here to be set aside, like I'm not important. I was put here by God to go through different things to help other people understand how to go through those things. And, you know, it is it's difficult sometimes to discern that. It's difficult to come to the realization that the bad things that have happened to you really did have a purpose and they were useful. There is some reason why you've had to go through those things. So, for me, after I thought about that, um, I said, well, maybe this part of the book of Nehemiah isn't quite so boring or uneventful after all. Sorry for the peripheral noise. I'm multitasking. As I said, I have like 5 minutes before I have to be at work and in a meeting. Then we'll have to really talk about that later. The fact that I absolutely hate to start my workday immediately in a meeting, but it is what it is. Um, and I'm sure other people have hated that as well. So that's neither here nor there. But as my time is ticking away, I want to make sure that I try to wrap this up and make it make sense. Obviously, it seems like I have no point a lot of the time when I'm talking about these things. But my point is this: we are all at varying stages within our lives, we are all at different points along that journey. Um, and we need to be we need to be open to the fact that sometimes we're moving and sometimes we're standing still, and neither of those things is in our control. um, but at every point, whether we are standing there trying to figure out what just happened to us or how we're supposed to get to the next thing, or we are moving through it, we're pushing through the thing that we're going through and trying to get from point to point so that we can survive it or, just get rid of it. Um, each of those components of whatever we have endured in our lives is going to come together at some point, and we're going to look back and we're going to say, that's what I was made for. That's why I'm here. And at that point, that's when it really starts to come together for you and starts to make sense. And that's when we begin to live the best part of our lives. So try not to get discouraged. Try to continue moving forward if you can, or just wait on God's timing if you're in a place where you're standing still. He will show you where to go next. He will show you what to do next. He will assign you to your post. And it may not be the only one that He assigns you to in your life, but each part of that will mean something later on. And you may not understand it now, but I promise you, it will all come together and it will make sense eventually. So, with that said, happy Monday. Have a very, very, very good week, and God bless you. And I'll try to put something else together that makes a little bit more sense on Friday. Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out our website and blog. The blog is at www.leading-the-follower.com. Thanks and God bless.